Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Marilyn Shannon. This is Breaking Free, and we're going to have quite the night because tonight we're going to define freedom. I think for as long as I can remember, I've been looking for a way to define freedom, and I think tonight we're going to do it. It's an exciting night. So, hello, Amnon, you there?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We're going to get right into it.
Did you have a good week?
I did, and you?
Good.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Did everybody out there have a good week this week, even though we laugh about it? Because for us, sometimes it starts on Monday, but for some, it might start on Sunday. Who knows? We're going to get right into our show because it's going to be a good discussion. And I want to remind everybody you are always welcome to call in at 919-518-9773. Anytime you have a question, you have a statement you want to make on this show, please do that. Please talk on the chat, add your comments. We'll pick them up as we go. So tonight we have a guest on who's from Duke, Adrian Bejan. My husband heard him on NPR and said to me, Marilyn, this is somebody you might want to listen to. And I did. And I contacted him, and he was gracious enough to say, yes, he would come on the show. So it's an honor to have him here. He received all his degrees from MIT, BS 1971 honors courses, MS 1972 honors courses, and his PhD in 1975. His research is in thermodynamics, applied physics, and the constructal law of design and evolution in nature. He is ranked by ISI among the 100 most cited authors in all engineering, all fields, all countries, living or deceased. He is the author of 25 books and 550 peer-refereed journal articles. He is H-index on ISI is 47. Professor Bejan was awarded 16 honorary doctorates from universities in 11 countries. For example, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology and the University of Rome. And his work is about constructal law and the evolution in nature. And I'm going to ask Adrian, is he on now? Are we ready to go? Adrian, you there?
I'm here.
Welcome.
I can hear you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. So can you explain to our listeners what constructal law is?
Well, first, there is the very common feeling that we all have, which is that we're surrounded by things that we see, things that we recognize, by images, by rhythms. But of course, we tend to overlook these things that are so abundant. And I was the same way until by accident in 1995, I found myself designing cooling systems for laptops, and I realized that the better I was getting at guiding the heat out of the box, the more I was arriving at the designs that were tree-shaped, just like the river channels in any river basin. And the accident is actually a longer story, but the punchline is that because of this awakening, the fact that rivers were happening on my desktop, really at the tip of my pencil, it occurred to me that the principle that I was invoking consistently as an engineering designer was in fact responsible for the emergence of these structures naturally all over the globe, not only in inanimate systems such as river basins and lightning and snowflakes, but also in all over the biosphere, in animal design, say the lung design, the kidney, the vascularized tissue, the animal migration routes on the globe, all the way to urban design, urban traffic, business, economics, and government. And in other words, one common sense idea, which led me to making better and better designs, could be invoked in order to predict everything else that had the shape and structure in everywhere, but especially in our brains, in our memories. And that idea was very easy to summarize. I gave it the name, the Constructal Law. It is simply the statement that any flow system, in order to survive, in order to persist in time, which means to live, must evolve, which means must change its configuration over time in order to provide greater and greater access to what flows through it, meaning to its currents. This is a statement of physics. It's not about biology or geophysics or social dynamics. It is a statement of everything, and it speaks of the evolutionary design, which means the tape of a movie, a sequence of images, oriented in time in such a way that from one screen to the next, the flow becomes happier. It flows more and more easily. So, yes, design in nature is an evolutionary phenomenon. It has a direction in time, and the Constructal Law proclaims that the movie tape runs in a particular direction.
Adrian, it's Amnon. Are you watching the show? Did you?
I did not see anything. I forgot.
Okay, go ahead and refresh it now.
Yes, I did.
And if you see yourself, then you are watching it live.
See yourself, then you are
yes.
watching.
Now click on the speaker.
Yes. Now click on the speaker.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
That's okay. So
Okay.
Go ahead. Did you? So okay. So everything has this flow. Everything has a flow to it. Is that correct?
Everything that we see, in other words, every configuration, every design, every pattern is visible and memorable because something is flowing or something was flowing. For example, in the underground fibers of minerals, which are basically underground river basins, those configurations speak of a flow that over time acquired the configuration in order to flow more and more easily. So the phenomenon is the occurrence and evolution of pattern or of design.
And so you can take a look at pretty much anything. Can you look at anything and be able to look into the future with it and see how it's going to work out? Can you do that?
That's right. So this idea took shape in the late, specifically in 1996. I was, of course, I challenged myself to use it in order to predict with it what everybody knows, and so I worked on many examples from snowflakes to animal locomotion to the predicting the construction rules of all river basins to doing the same for human dynamics, for example, predicting why city blocks happen, predicting why trade routes happen. A lot of examples while trespassing on other people's territories, and in the process, of course, I ended up making many friends and gathering without effort a community of scholars that confessed one after the next that that this idea is common sense. They not only that they agree with it, but they themselves had been invoking it as common sense in their scientific work. And so today, which is more than 15 years later, science is becoming let's say, at ease with this kind of thinking, which boils down to first of all having a law of physics that underpins design in nature. Second, comfortable with speaking of design in nature as a scientific object or subject. And third, using the principle in order to design based on it contrivances and processes that empower us as humans. In other words, using the Constructal Law to fast forward the kind of work that I was doing 15 years ago when I was designing cooling paths for laptops. So it's a win-win
right.
Activity.
Right. So if you can predict where something is going, can you predict where it came from? Do you understand where it came from?
Well, okay. So I can let me translate your question in this metaphor with a movie that I already mentioned. Design in nature is like a movie. It is changing. It is changing in one direction. With the Constructal Law, I can see the direction in which the plot of the movie is running. And yes, because I'm educated, I can place myself farther along the tracks of this train in order to see around a bend where the design comes from. I don't know exactly, but I'm very certain that it comes from a kind of design that was less efficient, less able to provide access for its currents. It's in engineering, these examples are very well known because most of our technology is just 200 years old. And so we are very much aware of the fact that, for example, heat engines come from designs that were very inefficient. We know their drawings. We know that 100 years later they became even more efficient. We know the drawings of designs of 30 years ago, which became even more efficient, and in fact are responsible for energizing and electrifying the planet today. And so for things that have relatively short evolutionary lives, the both ends of the movie tape are known, the origin and also the direction in which these configurations or blueprints, if you will, are evolving. So that's the answer to your question.
So as they evolve, even if something has a short shelf life, let's say, it's evolved to a point that would be part of something else's evolution, wouldn't it be then?
I did not understand your question.
Okay, so if something has a short evolution, wouldn't even that, whatever that is, whatever object that is, its lifetime begins something else? Wouldn't that work as well?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. All the examples, including the technology evolution example with the heat engine, speaks of an endless life of evolutionary change. The big changes are happening early. The movie runs. The design has the tendency to flow more easily, which means that as time passes, the changes are less drastic, and but the tendency to flow more and more easily never goes away. There are accidents along the way. For example, a tree log falls across one of the river channels. It takes weeks, months, or years for the entire river basin to push the log out of the way, and the movie continues to run, and it runs in one direction. which is that of liberating the flow.
Right. And accidents are supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
That is, in fact, they happen all over the place, and that is why evolution never ends. That is actually why, in spite of or hand in hand with the constructal law of design and nature, there is uncertainty and diversity, if you will, and unpredictable complexity that accompanies these images that we discern in nature. But the bottom line is that we, because our heads are of finite size, we are impressed by the patterns that unite all these seemingly different observations. And we're less impressed, in fact, less powerful to memorize the little or little or large differences that distinguish between patterns. We're impressed by the fact that both the Mississippi Basin and the Amazon are tree-like. We are less able to tell the story of why these two trees are different.
So can you see why they're different?
Well, I plead guilty. I haven't thought about explaining what's difficult. They're different because they come from different parts of the globe. The Amazon is the recipient of the greatest rainfall, or one of the greatest rainfalls on the planet. The geology near the equator is not the same as just east of the Rocky Mountains, and on and on and on. One area, as you know, meaning North America, has been deforested. The other one has not. And, so there are many reasons for why the river basins are not identical. But to see diversity is banal in comparison with recognizing rules or pattern that unites the seemingly different images. Right. That is the key. It's like saying, look, there's no such thing as two identical human faces, but the human face has those main features that you see sketched in any anatomy book. Is the latter that is the pattern. There are reasons for that particular sketch. In fact, they go hand in hand with everything else that I was able to predict with the Constructal Law. It's about the fact that two eyes oriented on the horizontal are essential for having guided locomotion on the landscape, meaning to move our bodies and our belongings efficiently, safely, long, and meaning long in space and also long in time, that is without bumping aimlessly into walls. So you see, the principle is responsible for the main features of the design, and that is what, in fact, is what we retain. That is what I teach. That is why that is the reason for which the Constructal Law is remembered and used.
We have a question out on our chat, and I'll read it to you. We have so many problems on the planet. Can this universal Constructal Law make a difference in our direction as society into interaction with environments? If we can see ahead in the movie that we will blow up or fall off the edge, etc., this is crisis ahead. How to change? So go ahead.
Yeah, well, I like the question very much because it really puts its finger on the type of ideas that animate my own work right now. This is after the book, or meaning more recently than the book Design in Nature. Why, in other words, the question is, why is the Constructal Law important and important to all of us, or why should it be taken seriously?
And how can we use it?
But yes, that's right. The point is that with the Constructal Law, we we get ideas that did not exist before. First is the fact that we have to answer right away in the beginning what flows. In other words, what flow system is that carries us with it? And the answer is that we are our own flow system, human animal mass, and also the mass of our belongings, the mass of our connections or flow through our channels is what's covering the globe. So we are the ones flowing, and everything that in the lubricant in these channels that are permeated by flows goes by many names, including technology. We're moving because we're being driven. The driving is done by fuels that are consumed in power plants. I showed very recently that the other name for the fuel consumed in the power plants is wealth. There is a relatively precise proportionality between the fuel burned per capita in a particular country, any country, and the gross domestic product of that country per capita. So the intangible wealth is better known in physics as fuel burnt, which is also better known as mass moved to a distance on the landscape. And so we are bringing, with the Constructal Law, an understanding of what this movie of the evolution of civilization means in physics terms. It means changes in how we move on the landscape, so that we move more easily, we move farther, we move more economically, and our movement is longer and longer lasting. It is with a greater and greater longevity. It is from here that we now see why each of us, individually and then as a group in government, we want more wealth, we want more health, we want more security. We want all these things that, frankly, everybody takes for granted that are desirable, and the bottom line with which I should have probably started this list is that all these changes in design are happening in the flows, which means the lives of those that are willing, or those who are willing to treat their designs as free to change. Without the freedom to change the design, designing makes no sense. So rigid flow configurations, such as a straight steel pipe, will not be evolving. Okay, a street that is likely to be changed by the city planners is a very good street. It is, in fact, one of the features of the natural flow system that I'm trying to illustrate in my long answer to your question. So to summarize, freedom is good for design. Design evolution has a sharp and unique direction over time. It is toward flowing more and more easily. And in what concerns us as humans, that direction means toward greater wealth, which means better life, longer life, safer life, and all these other things that, in fact, when we look back, have been happening in the history of human civilization since recorded time. That is the big picture, and it is in complete accord with the Constructal Law.
And so that means all working together.
No, it means that this design, which is better known as civilization, or in today's America, democracy and the republic, these things happen. They are natural, and they happen naturally because they satisfy the natural urge that resides in every individual. Self-organization in society is really the result of selfish behavior, meaning the individual wanting to, again, to live longer, to be safer, to be all these other things I listed. And as if by magic, when everybody acts out these urges, then the group finds itself flowing with design. You see, with for example, in the city, with a few large streets and many small streets. The same in any type of organization, from my university to the design of the air mass transit. Few large and many small. One word name for this hierarchical design is, in fact, hierarchy.
Yeah.
Hierarchy is one way to describe a tree-shaped flow system.
So Chris is asking how constructal law relates to the sports evolution.
Okay. Now we go back to some of the early work that we did with the Constructal Law to predict the flow of animal mass on the landscape. We asked the question, how should the animal body move, that is, how to undulate, in what rhythm, so that animal mass is moved more and more easily, meaning farther per unit of food consumed. And from there came the prediction that the speed of all animals should be proportional to the animal body mass raised to the power 1/6, which is easier understood as saying that larger animals should move faster, should have greater speeds. Larger animals should undulate their bodies less frequently. In other words, big birds should flap less frequently. Larger animals should be stronger, meaning stronger weightlifters, obviously to lift their bodies away from the earth. And a few other things, including most recently the prediction that larger animals should have longer lifespans, and during their lives, larger animals should travel on the surface of the earth to longer distances. All these things are now predictable from the Constructal Law. The challenge that exists in biology is to prove something like this, in spite of the fact that in biological evolution, evolution took forever. In other words, we are not witnessing the movie, because the movie has been running such a long time. We're just looking at one screen. So Adrian thought, how can I illustrate this movie so that we mortals can, in fact, agree that we've been watching it in our lifetimes? And the answer is, if you don't know technology evolution, which is fairly known in engineering, then probably many more of us are familiar with the evolution of sports. So take, for example, the relatively large group of athletes who train in order to become the fastest athletes on the globe. This is a select group of animated bodies who obviously become faster and faster. Some are born and become young runners, others retire. In any case, the group is a laboratory, a small laboratory in which biological evolution is observed. Every year at the Olympics or at the World Championships, the group shows the world how it is doing through its champions. And the champions, of course, from year to year break records, which means that the speed is increasing. We were able to show that at the same time, the new champions have statistically bigger bodies, taller physiques. And this relationship between speed and body size, which is illustrated by winning the 100-meter dash, men and women, that relationship is essentially or exactly the same as the speed versus mass relationship that the Constructal Law predicted correctly for all animals, so flyers, runners, and swimmers. So that's basically the role that sports evolution plays in biology. It is a laboratory. It is a visualization method. It's a way to witness evolution, and it is a very good way to I think, to strengthen the notion that evolution can be observed, and that engineering, if you will, is a useful way to think in other domains such as biology and geophysics.
There's a lot of great commentary going on the chat, so I'm just going to relay some of it to you. So, do we have to have a conscious, or should we have a conscious awareness of this flow? And if we did, would that give us greater control over it? And is that part of your work, is for us to understand this, to have this consciousness?
To understand, to have what?
Do we have to have a conscious awareness of this flow? Should we have a conscious awareness of this flow?
It helps to know the law if you're in the business of designing things to empower humans. I mentioned urban design. That will go faster and better if one knows this particular principle. In other words, you can avoid trial and error. You can avoid catastrophes in infrastructure. For example, Katrina in New Orleans. These things. You learn, of course, the importance of not fighting nature, or the importance of going with the flow. Going with the flow, by the way, is street language for, another way of saying the statement of the Constructal Law. Other ways to recognize that all of us, in fact, are using the wisdom of the Constructal Law, is to realize that not only going with the flow, being a wise advice, but there are other such rules of life that are useful. For example, if you can't beat them, join them. All roads lead to Rome. If you want something done, give it to a busy person. These are that's right. There are many more. These are the truths that we all get as children growing up, and they serve us well. And the reason is that we in society have, in order to better ourselves individually, have discovered the importance of flowing together. And that's what the Constructal Law teaches. First, it teaches that our own movement on the landscape is a morphing design, meaning a design, which means pattern, that is free to change. It also teaches the importance of maintaining that freedom in the design, because without freedom, the design cannot become better. And then it teaches all these other things that are good, all the way to more flow, better flow, which means longevity, wealth, health, and all, security, and all the things that we value. So it's about a better life. That's what the Constructal Law teaches us as users of the principle.
So, from your observation, I know you said, I've read it somewhere. I mean, we are constantly evolving. So, are we getting better?
We as naked bodies, I'm not so sure. The naked body is the same as the naked animal sketched in the zoology book. However, we as humans have ceased long ago to be naked bodies. We've been equipping ourselves with extensions known as artifacts, tools, of course, clothing, more recently with not only with writing and music and painting, and of course artifacts, catapults, and all sorts of hard objects. But we've been equipping ourselves with an understanding of what goes on around us, from paintings on the caves in prehistory to religion, and now to science. So this evolutionary design that I just sketched is something that I call the human and machine species, meaning not Homo sapiens, but the human and machine species. And this new species, which has been around actually since recorded time, is evolving as we speak. If I buy a new car tomorrow, Adrian will be a better specimen tomorrow. That is the reality of who we are, and in this domain, meaning as a human and human species, yes, we're getting better every day. It's not only that; it is that the groups that we form, for example, the neighborhood, the city, the government, the company, the business, my university. That organization is also evolving as a super organism consisting of human and machine species, and it is getting better every day. If it is not getting better, it is likely to be replaced by another organization that will please the inhabitants of the first organization more. And that's the good news.
So when I listened to your tape, I think it was your video, and you were talking about when you were in MIT and how you didn't get the teaching job when you got out of MIT. It took you 3.5 years, and you're still like proving yourself, basically. Am I correct?
That is correct. I was asked the question of whether I experienced failure in my life. Of course, I've experienced failure, and I picked this example, which actually is the one that hurt the most, and it hurt at the wrong time. I couldn't figure out why. As a top student at MIT, I wanted to be a professor. I knew I could be one. I was publishing intensively. And I knew my material, and everybody around me was getting professorial jobs except Adrian. Not only that, but it took me, as you said, 3.5 years, and this was a period of growth for me intellectually, but also a period of discovering that I was truly passionate about my subject, that I was really in academia for the purpose of pursuing truth and not for the purpose of earning a salary necessarily, and that persistence is essential. That's one, and important is the fact that if you fall, it's really your duty to pick yourself up and get back up in the ring. That's the
right, the fearless and the
lesson.
Boxer, right? You said that.
Correct. I see that as a very good metaphor, the boxer, and I have to tell you that during those 3.5 years, I listened very frequently to the song "The Boxer" by Simon and Garfunkel. That was it went with the times, and it helped me organize my thoughts. I felt provoked, and that I had to prove that my judges were wrong, and as I said on the tape that you quoted, that feeling of being provoked and having to prove my judges wrong has stayed with me, and in a constructive way, of course, and that has been very good, not only for me personally, but also for my work.
So everything is part of the Constructal Law. I mean, the persistence, competition. There's all of it is part of the reason. All of it is part of the law. We need it all.
This thing with the competition, I have to be. I now know that I have to be more careful in biology, in Darwinism, the doctrine. The one that I understand is one of animal competing against animal. There are winners, there are losers. There is a kind of a zero-sum game, and predator and prey. The view that I developed with the Constructal Law is a view that makes me sleep much, much better at night. It is that all of these entities, the few large and the few small, like the water in the river basin, all of them flow together. So what some people call the food chain, I see as the few large channels of the Mississippi flowing together with many more smaller channels. The large cannot flow at all without the many small, and so altogether, this multi-scale flow system is one system. So. In this sense, our own activity, which means life on the planet, is really one of flowing together with our immediate environment. Again, if we look at the world in this light, then we see that that's been happening forever. Humans have been changing the landscape. In other words, life and environmental impact have been going on forever, hand in glove, and with the proper design or with proper science, that larger flow system, which is the human and the environment, has been flowing more and more easily, which means it has been surviving. So we can just take this view and compare it with the history of a civilization. The building of railroads did not terminate the landscape. It did not lead to paving or covering the entire globe with railroad tracks. It's the same with the highways. It's the same today with the condensation trails of aircraft. They are located in particular channels or air corridors, and that's the way it will continue to be.
It'll continue to be. Chris says, in 2010, you wrote a paper published in the International Journal of Design and Nature and Ecodynamics. Why the fastest runners are black and swimmers are white. Can you tell us more about this article and why you chose to study these particular groups of athletes?
That is an excellent story of intellectual excitement in science. It happened without a plan. I had just published with a student at Duke, Jordan Charles, the discovery that speed sports such as the 100-meter dash and the 100-meter freestyle have been evolving along the same curve of speed versus body mass as all the animals in zoology. And about a month after this publication, which was widely discussed in the press, I was contacted by a colleague, a professor at Howard University, Ed Jones, who is African American, also a former runner, who challenged me he agreed with the prediction about the importance of size in sports, but challenged me to explain this other obvious evolutionary feature, which is that in the 100-meter dash, you name the competition, almost all the finalists are of West African origin, whereas in swimming, the fastest, all the finalists are of European origin. And he and I together looked at not only the data is fairly obvious, everybody could see these athletes on the TV screen, but we've looked at the differences in body architecture, and the difference is actually significant. If you compare statistically bodies of the same height, we know, of course, that being big, being tall is important for speed. But then, if you fix the height, then the body of an athlete of West African origin has a higher center of gravity than that of the athlete of European origin. So West African architecture has longer legs, thinner limbs, contrary to the European body architecture. And this means that among athletes of the same big size, the West African is taller as a runner, and that leads to a 1.5% advantage in speed in running. And the opposite is true in water. The athlete with the longer torso, which happens to be the body of European origin, has the 1.5% advantage in speed in swimming. And this body architecture difference is responsible for the segregation of the speed sports into what we know to be true. And I think this is useful to know, and it is useful to understand. And all these things that have to do with predicting the evolution of speed sports are very, very good science, especially for those who plan the new rules for international competitions, such as the International Olympic Committee, also for governments through their ministries of sports. New rules for how to recruit and train athletes, and also to guard against unfair practices where, obviously one group would seek advantages over another through the use of illegal substances. So science is good, but science brings with it the opportunity to be misused. And that's always been the case. So the Constructal Law is, in that respect, no different.
Okay, well, I want to make sure we get to you talking about your most recent book.
Well, the book that is responsible for our making acquaintance is called Design in Nature. That's the main title. The subtitle is How the Constructal Law Governs Evolution in Biology, Physics, Technology, and Social Organization. It is co-authored with Peter Zane, and it was published by Doubleday in New York. In fact, the paperback edition was just launched last week. This book is written for the general public. It is a book that I think makes the Constructal Law accessible to all the readers, especially young readers. I'm very, very pleased with the way in which the book has been received. And that is one reason why I'm now very, very busy as an invited speaker.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. If it's okay with you, I'm going to read the book. And then once I do, I'm going to, your newest book, I'm going to ask you to come back again If you can, maybe you will.
Okay.
We have so many
Okay.
questions and so much inquiry on our chat that I can't even get to it all, because there's so much interest in what you're talking about.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear what you're saying, and I thank all your listeners for their interest and for thinking about this law of design and nature with curiosity, with an open mind, and with a look into the future.
Well, and I think that's exactly what you're doing. You're helping us with this. I just wrote down, it seems such a simple concept. I couldn't explain it, and yet it is so complex, and yet it's so simple at the same time. And there's a lot of Debbie asked the question. So as races intermarry, when you were talking about the athletes earlier, as races intermarry, can you predict what will happen with the skill set and form and function with body type? And will that change in other aspects as well as races intermarry and we become more one?
Oh, well, I don't know what the body type will do. That is the result. Again, is like a single screen in a very long movie. I am not an anthropologist. My vision is, let's say, I'm short-sighted when it comes to where the human body design comes from. But clearly, as we see in the evolution of American society, or those of us like Adrian who loves the history, we have seen this same evolution in the Roman Empire, which was the first melting pot around the Mediterranean. When you give a society long enough, the differences between its citizens, I'm talking about the younger and younger, tend to become effaced, and that's easily understood, and okay, it's a good thing to keep in mind as we look into the future of, for example, American society. But it's happening all over the globe. In now this United Europe, the same has been restarted or kick-started. So if the Roman Empire movie was interrupted, it got restarted now, especially with the crash of the Iron Curtain. So again, take a look at the world, take a look at history. and read it in light of the law of design and nature, which is the Constructal Law. It all makes sense. In other words, now it makes sense to know that in history, totalitarian systems could not compete with the freely morphing systems. You can take that observation, and with it you can predict the future of totalitarian systems.
Yep. So we got to be free. That's my thing.
Correct.
So, we have to be free.
That's right. The Constructal Law is bad news for the rulers of rigid societies. That's the
right. And rulers of rigid societies are bad news for freedom.
I did not hear you well. Would you repeat?
Rulers of rigid societies are bad for freedom.
Well, that's right. But again, there was a time when that was the design that worked. Of course, the world as a whole has walked away from that. But there are patches or marshes or armpits of this global flow system where the old design is still in place. It is easy to predict what will happen to those patches. And the time it takes for the whole flow to bathe the world better is, in light of history, it's relatively short.
Adrian, Chris said that she thanks you very much for being here, and she says if there's time She has one more question. Can you talk about your work mentoring younger students?
I love my students. I see myself as being highly privileged to have the opportunity to teach, to exchange ideas, actually to come up with new ideas in the company of thinkers who are a lot less biased than I am. At Duke in particular, I'm surprised every day by how talented the students are, and I try to pay these characters back with my effort of not only doing new work with them, but also publishing with them. So my rule over the years it has been to document the thinking that we do together, or if I teach a class very well from year to year, it is to document that teaching in a new book, and so teaching in a serious university is a privilege. Teaching at Duke in particular is a rare privilege, and if I don't do a good job in recognizing how lucky I am, I obviously don't deserve to be around. So
no, but I think you're going to keep on recognizing. It's part of the flow.
Adrian, so that means that our kids' future is going to be good.
Yes, I think that's the joke. We have no option, even if we tend to be dumb every once in a while. That the world has this built-in mechanism of in fact carrying us with the flow forward. And if we don't have a good idea, then the neighbor here in Canada or across the ocean has the better idea, and before we know it, we find ourselves marching much better to a new tune. So that's correct. Good ideas travel far and keep on traveling. That is another way of describing our morphing design, or why freedom is good for design. If the idea is good, we simply use it and move on.
That's perfect. Well, I want to thank you very much for being here. I mean, we're all writing back and forth. People are saying what they're going to do, how they're going to stay in the flow. I just wrote optimism is part of the flow, and you're an optimistic. And that is, you have to be. You have to be to allow the flow.
Thank you. As you said in the beginning, I see it as a law of physics, which means its reach, its hand is inescapable, and knowing it is a lot better than not knowing it.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing all this with us and stimulating us so much.
Thank you, Marilyn.
It's been an honor. Thank you very, very much.
And thank you, Chris, and thank you, Amnon.
Thank you, and can't wait to get your book.
Okay, please do.
I will. Thank you. Thanks so much. And everyone out there, thanks so much for being with us and being part of history, I think. This was historical. So thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. till noon. Carrie's Psychic Cafe with Carrie Silkowski, Sundays 8 till 9 p.m. Health In with Debbie Bruck, Mondays 11 a.m. till noon. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 till 9 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays, 9 till 10 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatBigBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.